Hello and welcome to today's lesson on what is truth and the search for truth. And we'll view from the point of view of how the Buddha taught us to search for truth. So does truth actually exist? So in my class, some of my students, they say that there's no truth unless it's a scientific truth where it is proven, or else the truth that we have are all half truths. Why is that so? Because all of our truths are based on our different perspective. So just like the picture shown here, different people touching different parts of an elephant and sharing what their truth is, except these people are blindfolded. So the Buddha did say that in our search for truth, our attitude of mind in searching for truth, we're exactly like these blind men who are being not blind men, we're exactly like these men here who are being blindfolded. And when we are being blindfolded and we go search for the truth, we cannot really find the truth. So can truth exist when we're all searching for the truth while being blinded? So the question here is, what are we being blinded by? So I thought that this movie, Rashomon by Akira Kurosawa, shares this point very well. It shows us what we are blinded by, and therefore we are unable to be truthful to ourselves or to be truthful to others. So this movie, which I love very much, it's because it makes you think, it makes you reflect, it makes you contemplate. Unlike many movies today, whose aim is to really just entertain you. So anyway, at the beginning of the film, a woodcutter, he found a murder scene in the woods. He found a woman's head, a cut rope, as well as a dead samurai. So when he saw this, he quickly reported this to the authorities. And soon, the bandit and the samurai's wife were caught. And so each of them gave their different testimonies in this trial. So you see in the background, the woodcutter is one of the spectators of the trial. He was watching it. And in front here in the foreground is the bandit. So here's the bandit's story. He said that he tricked the samurai and managed to tie him to a tree because his intention was to rape the wife of the samurai. So upon raping the wife, after raping the wife begged this bandit, the thief, to kill her husband, the samurai. And the reason for this, why does she want her husband dead? Because he witnessed this bandit assaulting her and she felt ashamed. So she wants the bandit to kill her husband to protect her honor. So the bandit then set the samurai free as he agreed with the wife, and he had a duel with the samurai. He had a sword fight, and in this sword fight, he won valiantly. But after he turned around, the wife of the samurai had fled. So that's his story. And next, they summoned the wife of the samurai. So what's her version of the story? She said, the bandit, after raping her, she said that the samurai's wife said that after the bandit raped her, he left and she was left alone with her husband, and she released her husband from the rope. He was being tied to a tree, right? So she tried to ask her husband for forgiveness despite, it not being her fault, because she felt shameful. What did her husband do? He stared at her coldly, without emotions. He wasn't forgiving. And so distraught she was at her husband's reaction, she fainted. The next thing, after waking up, she saw that her husband is dead with a dagger stuck in his chest. So all this while, the dagger cannot be found, in this trial, because in the first part, the bandit was asked, where is the dagger? He said he doesn't know where it is. Whereas the wife said that the dagger was used as a weapon to kill her husband, and she doesn't know who did it because she fainted. And so after she saw that her husband had died, she went to the pond nearby to try to commit suicide, but unsuccessfully. So she was then caught and brought to the trial. So the third witness to the trial is the dead man himself. It's the samurai. So how was the soul of the samurai summoned to the court? The court, they actually got a medium or a shaman to bring the samurai to the trial. And this is his side of the story. He said that after the bandit raped his wife, she asked the bandit to kill him because she was ashamed that her husband witnessed the whole thing, and she wanted the bandit to kill the samurai, and agreed to live with the bandit after the whole thing, because he had asked her, do you want to live with me? The bandit asked her after raping her. She said yes, but first kill my husband. So the bandit, upon hearing that, he was disgusted. He thought the wife was really evil. So he held the wife to his arms and asked the samurai, do you want me to kill your wife, or do you want me to let her go? So at this point, the samurai felt some friendship towards the bandit. So unfortunately, the wife broke free and ran away. The bandit tried to capture her without success. So he came back and apologized to the samurai and left. So the samurai, devastated by this entire incident, by the wife's behavior, he decided to commit suicide by stabbing himself with a dagger. So remember, this dagger cannot be found at the crime scene. So the question here is, who is telling the truth? So the students in my class said that all of them are telling some form of the truth, and you cannot really tell the truth until you put the stories together to try to figure it out. So in short, I was asking them, that means they're not telling the whole truth, isn't it? If you have to piece different truths together to find the whole truth, that means each of them are hiding some parts of the truth. So then comes the woodcutter. He was actually relating this story, what he heard at the trial, in a woodshed with a commoner and a Buddhist priest. And this is what he said. He said that the truth is this. After the rape, the bandit did ask the wife to stay with him, which was the samurai's version of the story. But then the wife refused to stay with the bandit after being raped. Instead, she went to release the samurai and told him, her husband, to fight for her honor, for she was being shamed. But the samurai hesitated. He said he doesn't want a wife who has been spoiled, dirtied by another man. The bandit who had threatened to kill her husband before the rape suddenly changed his mind too. He doesn't want the wife now. He doesn't want the woman to stay with him now because she has sort of betrayed him. She released her husband and asked her husband to kill him. The woman then become, the wife of the samurai became very distraught because both men doesn't want her. And she started crying and saying that both of them are cowards. First, the bandit was showing how macho and how powerful he is, but he couldn't kill the samurai. Then she's saying, what use is a samurai, a warrior? They are totally useless. He cannot even protect his wife from being raped. She said that both men are useless. So with this, both men, their pride got hurt and they decided to have a duel. they decided to fight each other, but cowardly, because both men, despite wanting to fight for each of their own honor, were reluctant to lose their life over a woman. So, by a stroke of luck, the bandit managed to stab the samurai with a sword. The samurai begged for his life. The bandit was so disgusted and he killed the samurai and left. And then the wife fled for her life. She fled before the bandit left. So this is the real story. This is what the woodcutter said. But then, if he was a witness to the entire murder, why didn't he testify at the trial? What does he have to hide? Now for him, he wasn't telling any lies, but he was not honest too, because he refused to reveal the truth. So again, I asked my students, and one of my students said, well, in old Japan that time, you shouldn't tell the truth. I said, why? He said, hey, it's old Japan, right? If you tell the truth, you either get rewarded or you get killed. So, but I wasn't trying to refer this to old Japan or whatever, but rather I asked, if you're witnessing a murder, wouldn't you want to tell the truth? And then my student said, yes, of course. But however, it's dependent on the era, right? If telling the truth is going to get you killed, then you shut up. That's what he meant. So, why did the woodcutter hide the truth and not testify at the trial? The commoner here is the one who tells the real truth. He said, the woodcutter, he made the right guess. He guessed the woodcutter did not testify at the trial because he too had something to hide. What did he have to hide? Remember the dagger that was missing at the whole entire trial, which the wife said the dagger killed the husband, and then the samurai himself said that the dagger, he committed suicide with the dagger, but it cannot be found. So the commoner said to the woodcutter, you didn't testify at the trial because you stole the dagger, which is a valuable item. As in the whole trial, right, it was described the dagger was quite valuable for sale. So this is the whole truth. So the question here is, why did the bandit, the wife, the samurai, and the woodcutter hide the truth? What is important to them? So you can see that the bandit, he hid the truth because the wife, he did tell the wife to stay with him, but she refused. Instead, she asked the samurai to kill him. He felt embarrassed at this, right? And also he felt embarrassed that, he was timid in the sword fight. And also in the story, I think I may have not given the proper details earlier. He said that as he wanted to rape the wife actually was protecting herself with a dagger, but eventually she was seduced by his attractiveness, his machoism, that she gave in. So he lied, you see. The wife did not willingly get raped by him. So he was saying all these things to protect his reputation as the handsome, macho, and valiant bandit thief. What about the wife? What is important to her? Why did she protect herself? By not telling the truth. What is she protecting? She's actually protecting her pride as well, because both men actually didn't want her anymore. And during those times in Japan, right, it is like a man's world, and women do depend on men for their survival, but nobody wants her. It doesn't look good on her as well, isn't it? And for the samurai, why didn't he tell the truth? Well, the answer is obvious. Samurais are supposed to be like warriors. They're supposed to be able to fight for their wife, for their possessions, but instead, he couldn't even fight for his wife. He was afraid of death. He was afraid to be killed by the bandit. And the woodcutter, obviously, he hid the truth because he broke a law. He stole the dagger. So what is important to them? As you can see, actually one of my students replied, what is important to them is their ego, their natural instinct for survival. even survival by protecting pride and reputation. So when we are trying to protect ourselves, it's not just physical. We're also trying to save face. Face from what the society thinks is this way. We don't want to be looked upon another way. And also our own pride. I am a valuable person. How can I be worthless in this case? I should be valiant, I should be attractive, I should be wanted, you see. And this is a personal belief. And it is not just a personal belief because the entire society thinks the same way. So, in a way, this is a form of truth that the entire society thinks that it's important for self-preservation, that we preserve ourselves, even when it comes to reputation, fame, reputation and our fame and how the society views us. And this is a kind of truth we all hold on to, but dare not admit. Okay, that's why they hide the truth. As for the woodcutter, he hid the truth. Not also, I think, to protect the pride, because we all like to be seen as honest people, when actually most of us cannot even face the truth in our own hearts. So what makes them happy in this context? Does lying make them happy? Does hiding the truth make them happy? By trying to keep up with the facade of what society thinks we should do, should be right, meaning the self-worth, to look valuable, to be valuable, to be valued, to be wanted, to keep up with it, does it make us happy? To cling on to this idea. So I give a pause there. You can think about that, right? Every one of us have a different answer. But some of my students said, no, when we lie, it makes our mind very busy, because you got to cover one lie with another lie. And it makes the mind unsettled and unpeaceful. Okay, so one person's mind that is busy, that's not peaceful, cannot be happy. So these are my own answers. So they are trying to protect their own honor, reputation, ego. Why? Because in the eyes of society, it is more important than the truth itself. Protecting our reputation can be more important than the truth sometimes. Isn't that scary? or trying to win people to our side, to win an argument, we are willing to protect ourselves, and this is more important than the truth, right? As we have seen in the Trump years in the US, where he told so many lies just to win, and to him winning is more important than the truth. Isn't that scary? The kind of truth that society holds on to. So do you think that protecting their ego makes them happy, right? So I said, so my students already shared that lying doesn't make one happy, but what about protecting your ego? So as we can see that in modern societies, protecting our sense of self-worth, wanting to be valued, wanting to be liked, wanting to be loved, but not really getting it, and putting on a facade as if we have it, is very tiring. It's not peaceful to the mind. It's equivalent to the mind of one who's lying, who has to cover the truth, and it is not peaceful, and therefore I don't think it makes anyone happy. So do we still deny truth in order to protect our egos today? So I think the obvious answer is yes. Even though, well, this is modern Tokyo, right? It's no longer like the samurai Tokyo anymore, where pride and honor was heavily emphasized for the men especially. The thing is, yes, we're still protecting our ego because we think there's something there to protect. And it still exists in modern society today, even in modern Tokyo today, in Japan, just that it is not as emphasized during as it was during the samurai era. So we got to ask ourselves, what does the ego want? What is self-preservation besides protecting our body from harm? Self-preservation is to also to do only things that we like, what the ego likes, and push away what we don't like to do. And again, this is another kind of truth held by society today. You should only do what you like and love, and reject whatever you hate, okay, or you don't like to do. Another thing, you should only do things that what most people approve of, even though our society is becoming more open-minded with a lot more advancements. This underlying belief is still there. Okay, it's still there from the summarized time to today's world. We still want to do what the society, majority of people approve of. That's why so few people, right, take the unbeaten route, unbeaten path, and they get mentioned in newspaper, right? Those are not the majority. And of course, most of us would like to be liked by others, because again, that makes the ego feel good, makes us feel that we will be preserved, because when people like us, they cannot harm us. So it's a form of self-preservation. So again, this is a society belief, right? We should be well liked, and if you should be well liked, you should not be looked down upon by anyone else. So if you are, then you will start to fight for your rights. So can the above limitations and limited belief, lead us to the truth when we are trying to live like this in the eyes of the ego, to preserve itself, to be approved by society, be approved by your own belief system, which subtly is shaped by the society, but you don't think so, but it is, until we can really look into our own hearts. So can it really lead us to the truth? So as we have seen in Rashomon, it is hard, isn't it, to find truth, to figure out what is truth. So the ego does blind us to the truth. So in Buddhism, there are actually two truths. One is a conventional truth, as I have shared earlier, and also in the film Rashomon, the society's truth, the truth of the ego of self-preservation, to win, to be perfect, to be liked, not to be looked down upon, to fight for, being valued, to grow this this reputation more and more. So of course, this degree of this growing of the ego varies amongst different people, but it is there. Then there is the ultimate truth. So let's explore what conventional truth and ultimate truth is as taught by the Buddha. So conventional truth, the first part we have already talked about it. The conventional truth is truth dependent on the ego. It is also called relative truth because it is dependent on something else to exist. So what do we mean by that? Example of relative truths. For example, for someone to be rich, and we all strive to be rich or to be at least materially comfortable, there must be someone who is lacking, who is poor, who does not have any. Does it make sense? Because for you to be rich, you have to take things away from others, right? And for you to feel rich, there must be a poor on the other side, a poorer people on the other side. Otherwise, if there's no comparison, how do you know you're rich? So it is a conventional truth. The rich depends on the poor to exist. The poor depends on the rich to exist. So similarly, for someone who is loved, there must be someone else who is unloved. Right? So for someone else who is unloved, they feel unloved because maybe they don't feel that, there are many friends calling them, or that their family members are loving. When they go to Facebook or go to Instagram or TikTok and they see, wow, all these people are having so much fun being loved by their friends. And we all know social media doesn't tell the truth. Just like in Rashomon, who wants to show the sad part of themselves? Because then why? You don't look like you are a winner, you look like a loser, which is against conventional truth. Everybody wants to be a winner, but they forget to be a winner, you must have a loser on the other side. So for someone who feels unloved and they see these images on social media, it may increase their feeling of being unloved, whether it's true or not, but this deepens their belief. And for those who are truly loved, they must feel, they must have had moments where they felt unloved. Otherwise, how would they know they are being loved? Okay, so this is comparison, as you can see. Conventional truth cannot be true because it's always dependent on something else. So one of my students said, just as there is light, must be darkness. So when I was meditating before, I always wanted to be in the light, meaning I always wanted to be good. I always wanted to see the light, to be a good person. But I forgot that there are bad persons out there that makes me good. So I can't reject the bad out there. I'm not sure whether this is very hard to understand. So it also applies to your feelings, I mean, think about it. When you feel as a, very happy, very excitable, exhilarated happiness, like you want a project, you land $1 million in the lottery prize, or you want somebody you have had a crush on for a long time. Oh, you feel so happy. Why is that so? Because you have felt unhappy before. For the person who never won the 1 million lottery, maybe felt that there was not enough. So the $1 million dollar lottery made him feel like he's enough. He's very happy. Just like a person who won the sweetheart, right? The crush, feels very happy because he or she can compare it to days without this sweetheart reciprocating the feelings. So every time we human beings want to feel happy, we always don't want to feel the dark, we don't want to experience, the dark feelings, the feeling sad, depressed, melancholia. It doesn't make us feel bad. We want to push away. Instead of pushing it away, we don't recognize that it is this exact sadness and melancholy that allows us to know what excitement, happiness feels like in our conventional world, or in our worldly feelings. In our religions, worldly feelings. Worldly feelings are feelings that's dependent on other feelings to exist. If you keep feeling happy, you realize that you can't sustain it because you require sadness to remind you what happiness feels like. So it's very silly for us and unwise of us to reject sadness. Instead, we should rather investigate sadness and see how happiness is dependent on it. I'm not saying that when you're depressed, don't seek help and go be and get more and more depressed, more and more sad. No, it's not that. It's just that at some point in our lives, we have to see that sadness balances happiness. Okay? And we can learn to be wise about it and not want to seek that kind of extreme happiness or sadness. Okay? So how do we seek conventional truth? So as I shared earlier already, to hold certain belief that the society thinks is true, right? Such as my boss said, wow, you're right, even if you don't you want to be recognized at your work? Don't you want to have lots of money? So this is what society believes to be agreeable. Why is it agreeable? Because this is what society believes. This truth is what society believes that makes us whole, happy, and enough. But strangely, we don't feel enough. Even today, looking at how we are raping Mother Earth, right? By endless consumerism, buying, using electricity, playing games and all that, and just sucking up all the energies or that Mother Earth is left with. So we can reflect on that. So hearsay from friends and family. So I think I don't need to explain this too much. When we get along with someone, whether it's a family member or a best friend, we tend to agree with them because they tend to share our frequency, right? The same belief system. At least they agree with us 70% of the time. We feel that, oh, this is a good person. I can listen to them. But this is, I would like to say, plain biasness. and it doesn't lead us to the truth. So then there's happiness dependent on senses. So as I shared earlier, we love to take in beautiful sights, but we forget for beautiful sights to exist, there must be ugly sights. For beautiful sounds, music to exist, there must be something you dislike, right? And the same goes for touch, smell, taste, different kind of foods, right? And also ideas. Dependent on ideas, how interesting, right? When you have conversation with certain people who are of your same wavelength, their ideas just delight you. And so it's dependent on one kind of idea and rejecting certain ideas for us to be happy. So another way we seek conventional truth is from authority. So as one of my students said, scientific finding. And after 3 over years of COVID, we already know how much expert truths there are out there, but yet no one has the real truth. Their truths are always changing. Scientific findings are always changing. One minute the scientists found this, another minute they change their mind and find that. So to them it's rigorous, right? Rigorous investigation. I agree with it, but it is not truth. Just like in the past, scientists said eggs can cause cholesterol, but today they say no, it's not true. You see? So again, we cannot depend on the authorities to give us the real truth. And not forgetting, there's also ego in the medical, scientific circle, right? And of course, we seek truth based on our own belief system. And I've already said this, we believe that our belief system is very unique to us, when actually it's not. It's really shaped a lot by what other people think of us and what the society holds to be truth, to be right. What makes a person right, what makes a person happy, there's a societal standard, and we shape ourselves like that. So actually we're not that unique in our belief systems. But this will be a bit unique, because you'll find that very few people in the society try to seek ultimate truth. What is ultimate truth? Ultimate truth is not dependent on anything to exist. It is just there. Which makes sense, isn't it? If there must be a truth, it shouldn't be changeable. It shouldn't be debatable, and everyone should experience it as it is, the same experience. So this is a kind of happiness. So ultimate truth is a kind of happiness that's not dependent on the senses, other people's opinions, or mundane feelings. So just now I was talking about mundane happiness that's dependent on how much money you have, how much people like you, how many people value opinions. So this happiness does not rely on that at all. And it does not rely on pride. So I can say this, I am my happiness is my own. I don't need to depend on what people think about it. I'm happy what? Have you heard people say things like that? I've heard it a lot. And I know that they don't really mean it from their heart. It is their pride that they say these things. I'm happy, I don't need somebody else to validate me. Who cares? You see? A lot of people say things like that. But the truth is, are they really happy? I'll tell you in ultimate truth what kind of qualities it entails. Then you'll know whether your happiness is based on pride and willfulness. Okay? So examples of ultimate truth is actually unconditional love. And this is something so alien to most of us. What is unconditional love? So ultimate truth is saying that we already contain love in our hearts. So think about it. If you never had love in your heart, meaning if it is not natural in you, how is it possible for you to love a baby, a cute dog, or even someone else in your life? Where can you find that resource if you don't have it already naturally in your heart? The only problem with love in conventional truth is that we start to pick things out. For example, if a friend or a family member they were loving to you, but they stopped doing some things for you, and you don't understand why. And from your lack of understanding, you think that, they are against you. So you stop having love towards them. And the most common one is, why do we have certain partners and we compare? Oh, that boyfriend, that girlfriend, wow, that one is very good because he's really honest. This one gives me a lot of gifts. We start comparing like that. So it makes our love very shallow, very material. It's about giving and taking. It's like a marketplace mentality, like you're trading in the stock market, I think the only pure love in the entire conventional world, society we live in, is actually the love of a mother for the child. That's why the Buddha talks about it. He talks about love like the mother's love for a child, because it is unconditional. And if our partner one day tells us, I don't love you anymore, and he or she leaves you, that love, as we have seen many drama series from American to K-drama, what does it turn into? It turns into hate, into resentment, if not hate, into a bad taste in the mouth. Because why? This person who used to provide you security, adoration, has left. And the ego, what was I saying? What does the ego want? It likes to enjoy pleasures. Once the rug is pulled out under your feet, the ego's feet, don't have already. So it starts to resent. So we know that is conventional love. It's not real, true love. Because real, true love, like the love a mother has for the child, is unconditional. And then next is compassion. So I have a group of spiritual friends. I really enjoy speaking with them. One of them gave me a really good definition on what compassion is. She said, compassion is feeling pain and surrounding that pain with love. So again, in conventional truth, we are focused on, we know compassion is a good thing. We want to show compassion to other people. But in the conventional sense, if the person we show compassion to don't appreciate us, we feel upset, no? There's no unconditional love. We feel upset because our compassion is our compassion in the conventional truth is dependent on somebody reciprocating. And even if the person doesn't reciprocate, and I tell myself I must be compassionate, sooner or later it will drain you out. So compassion in the ultimate truth is like this. You're showing compassion not just to the person external to you, but to yourself. So if another person is feeling pain, you surround love towards that person's pain. And a lot of people will reject that. Because in society, right, the ego doesn't like to look like it needs somebody to pity them or something. Some people will react this way, And then what do? If you're not mindful, they will pass their pain to you. So of course, being rejected is not a good feeling. All of us will feel it. Then when that person passes their pain to you, what will you do? You surround this pain with love within your own heart. And that's how you can continue to be compassionate. And this is also equanimity. This is equanimous. It's a balanced compassion. It's a balanced love. Unconditional love, I would like to stress, is not about you being beaten up by someone to show that you love and care for them. Yeah, you have to love yourself too. It is a balanced kind of love. So I need not say that joy is also a balanced joy. You don't just feel joyful because you won something, you got something. You won a lucky draw. You're also joyful when somebody else wins a lucky draw. Why? Because you know that if somebody else can win a lucky draw, one day you too can win it. Isn't that joyful for all? You see, it's equanimous. And this part about ultimate truth is clear knowing. So sorry, I spelled it wrongly. It should be CLEARR without the N. Clear knowing. There is this clear crystal knowing in your mind, which is not the brain, which is your consciousness, in your heart. Your entire body, including the brain, knows. What does it know? It knows that all these truths here that I'm telling you, sharing with you, love, unconditional love, equanimous compassion, joy, it's who you are. You don't need to search for something outside. You don't need to fight for it. It already is natural within you. If you don't know what is joy, how can you be joyful at your own fortunes, for example? But except that in the conventional world, our joy is very selfish. There's no balance. But when this ultimate truth reach you in your heart, you'll know that any time of the day you can reach this joy that is already sitting in your heart, in your stomach, in your solar plexus. You can feel it. It's in there. So is love. It is always there. So how do we seek ultimate truth? So to be able to seek ultimate truth in our conventional world of belief system, we have to keep an open mind and be observant, to be open-minded. So a lot of people are afraid that somebody will, teach them wrong beliefs, teach them wrong things. Well, if you're observant, you can observe and reach a particular truth, then you can keep an open mind. You don't need to close your mind just because you're afraid somebody will feed you some rubbish. Yeah, we know certain religions out there, followers of certain religions, they close their mind to everything else because they think it's not truth. But if you want to seek the whole truth, it cannot be like that. You cannot say my group has the exclusive truth and we are exclusive to it, other people cannot. Because then that is not ultimate truth. Don't jump to conclusions. Okay, that's very important. A lot of us jump to conclusions, including myself. And I have to catch myself sometimes. Certain people make certain statements, behave certain way. My mind starts to jump to conclusion. But fortunately, I no longer believe my thoughts, thanks to mindfulness meditation. Next, don't believe or disbelieve, but consider what is said from all sides. So I said earlier, I no longer believe in my thoughts, but sometimes certain thoughts come, I do examine it. And this is how wisdom arises. You know wisdom is arising in you, which is the clear knowing, when you start to experience ultimate truth in your life. So do not believe or disbelieve what anyone says, no matter how rubbish it is. Consider it from all sides. Consider it from all sides. Of course, if somebody is really saying very mindless, stupid things, then you don't need to pay attention. But, still pay attention to them and listen to them to show compassion. So don't believe someone because of their background, like because they're expert, because they are some doctor, because they have some doctorate. No. Because what we should really consider is the message itself. Does the message contain truth? Is the message harmful? Is the message for your own good? People who hate us, they can be really telling truth about us, And we can actually change for the better to benefit ourselves and for the world. But we usually ignore messages from people we detest. So don't detest it, examine it. So be willing to listen, so important. Most of us just want to talk about ourselves. And it's the truth, most of us want to talk about ourselves. You see, ultimate truth, seeking ultimate truth is to listen. Be willing to change when you're wrong. A lot of people I know say that they know they're wrong from their mouth only. They don't really change. And change is one way we can learn. We can learn because we learn through change and through experiences. To know the truth, one must be honest with himself or herself. It makes sense, right? How are you able to discern truth if you cannot be honest in your very own heart, your heart of heart? You cannot admit to yourself that you are not being truthful to yourself or to other people. Then how can you seek the truth? So consider this statement. If you don't remember anything else from this lesson, at least consider this. If truth really exists, there can only be one truth. And this truth can be experienced by anyone regardless of religions, race, and age and backgrounds. It shouldn't be exclusive. So according to the Buddha, man's position in the universe is a supreme one. Man or human beings is his or her own master, and there's no higher being or power that sits in judgment over one's destiny. That means there is no such thing as fate or destiny. Because man, human beings, has the free will to choose. Man has the free will to choose. The Buddha said one is one's own refuge, and we do not need to seek security from any place else. Why do that when it's all dependent? If we seek security from our parents when we're young, we know we cannot feel secure anymore because they will pass away. Our children, if you have children, they may not take care of you, they may leave you. Even if they don't leave you, you may still feel a sense of dissatisfaction. Why? Because in the deepest of our hearts, we know that what we believe in is not the real truth. And that's why there are so many people who take long leave to find themselves. Right? So, the Buddha encouraged us to use our free will to investigate the truth and to work out our own liberation, which is your belief system, your mental limitations, or the societal limitations, by your own personal effort and intelligence. So some people, right, think that they are privy to the real truth because they are being looked after by a supreme being. A supreme being has things mapped out for them. As long as they go this way, they are protected. So what happens then? Then they stop having personal responsibilities in their choices. Isn't that scary? If you think about it, some men lament, why is my life so bad? Am I fated to be this way forever? Destiny is so bad, God is not on my side. Sometimes you may think of such things when things don't go your way, but if we were to examine it deeper, we might realize that there is no God, because we are the ones making the choices through our decision, what thoughts to believe, which thoughts in our mind to take action upon, to use the speech, what kind of speech we use, that we put out in the world, that comes back to us in a form of experience. And if you put the same unskillful, what the Buddha said, unskillful thought, speech and action out again and again and receive the same result again and again, who is the one to blame? It's ourselves, isn't it? Because we make the same choices. We don't change. We don't learn, so we come out with the idea of fate, of destiny, of a God. So free will means responsibility. In Buddhism is about having personal responsibility through the choices we make. The Buddha also told his students, check his teachings, investigate things that he taught. He doesn't want anyone to take his teachings blindly. He invites listeners, students, to prod at his teachings as if we are scientists, looking through our own minds. He said that we have to be responsible for our choices, our actions. He's only a guide. He cannot save us from our misery, because the misery is created by ourselves. And even if it's not misery, we create a lot of happiness, and then we don't have enough, we go and create some more, and then when we fall from a high place again, who does it? There's no God. We created it ourselves. So the Buddha stressed on individual responsibility. He emphasized it on his last day on earth. His attendant and cousin Ananda asked him, "O Buddha, who should take over your dispensation, your community of monks? And who should teach? Who should be the leader?" The Buddha said, "I never thought of myself as a leader. I never thought of myself as your savior. Whatever I taught is good enough to lead you to the ultimate truth. Strive on, because you don't get to be a human being all the time." That's why he said, when we are human beings, we should put effort and intelligence in searching for the ultimate truth and to experience for ourselves, what is this truth? We owe it to ourselves to liberate our own minds. So of course, in all religions, they teach consciousness, and I've shared before, consciousness is spacious. Consciousness has no location, there's no boundary, right? It's just like your thoughts have no boundary. If and in the example I shared earlier, you want to show someone compassion, but instead they pass you their pain. You can see that feeling of pain has no boundary, it can be passed around. It's a kind of state of consciousness, you know. Because you can only experience consciousness. That is our world of experience. So if consciousness has no boundary, can be passed around, it makes sense that it can change into different bodies. So we shouldn't take for granted that we're always going to die and return as human beings. It is not for sure. We can become a bug, we can become a mosquito. It is a conscious experience. So Buddhism emphasizes the freedom of thought. Freedom of thought must be accompanied by personal responsibility. As I shared earlier, certain belief things are this way, that way, like a solid block, okay? And when they feel that they are an elect, they are selected by a certain deity or what, they feel that they have no responsibility, and that's very scary. And freedom in Buddhism is not about thinking and doing as we like, but to really reflect that your happiness, your mundane happiness, comes from sadness. So we should become wise, not to reject sadness and only want happiness, but learn to balance them. And of course, this balance comes with the practice of mindfulness, meditation. Without it, there's really no way. So only when we are aware of causes and effects. What's causes? Causes are the belief system we have, and therefore we make certain decisions to experience the effect, which comes as life's experience. So this is cause and effect. It's actually very scientific Buddhism. You know the effect you're feeling now, you think it can be changed, you got to change the causes, which is your belief system. In this way, as we go on along the path, we can free ourselves from our limitations, our limited belief system, our limitation that prevent us from finding the truth. So Buddhism is a self-help religion. It does not depend on external help like a creator god or a savior. So it does require you to not be lazy, to use your intelligence, to observe, listen, and reflect. So that's all for my session today. So if there are any questions, please do not hesitate to ask in the YouTube comments.